Thank you, Peg. All right.
Sherry, can you share your license? Cheryl?
All right. Well, we are going to get started here, and I apologize to Mark because I may not have sent him the latest version, but he has it now, and so you will see it momentarily. But we're going to go ahead and get started. The active members present constitute a quorum per the bylaws. So we have a quorum. And I would just say, if needed during the meeting, if an item of business needs to be suspended for any reason, we're going to do a heart check and just provide a period of prayer and silence. So how to vote. Jeff went over those with you during the service, but if we have people who have joined us, either here in the sanctuary or on Zoom, we'll just go through it again. So all matters that are voted on today will be passed with a majority vote. There are 3 agenda items that are going to require a vote. And the way the voting process will work is that members here in the sanctuary will be asked to vote by raising your hand. And please keep your hand up until all the votes have been counted. And Luana, where's Luana, is going to count the votes, so just keep your hands up. And members participating via Zoom are asked to type yes or no, and then your name in the chat box. If there are 2 of you checking in from one location, just each of you enter a chat in the chat box. Okay? All right. Here we go. Thank you, Mark. Next slide, please. All right, so first we're going to take a vote on non-member participation. Non-member participation in the discussions must be approved by active members attending, and we need a 2/3 majority of the members present. So I would entertain a motion. So moved, Peg. Is there a second? Susan? Thank you. So all those in favor of allowing non-members to vote, raise your hand and keep them up until all the votes in the sanctuary have been counted. All those in favor of allowing non-members to vote. To participate. Hello. Yes, you are right, to participate. Thank you for keeping me straight. Keep your hands up. And on Zoom, I hope you're entering your vote in the chat box with your name. Okay, so the motion is passed. Great. All right, the next order of business is to approve last year's minutes. Members were all sent a link to view the minutes on the website, and the link was also included in the e-blast. So I hope you've all had a chance to read the minutes. Is there a motion to approve last year's annual meeting minutes? Jeff Cahill, thank you. Sylvia, second. All right. So all those in favor of approving last year's annual meeting minutes, please raise your hand. All right. I would say in the sanctuary, it looks like a unanimous vote. This is just a majority vote. And we have how many people, how many members on Zoom? 17? Okay, so we have a majority. On the first vote, and on the second vote, we have a majority because the majority is here in the room. Okay, good. All right, I'm going to call on Jeff Cahill now to give the nominating team report.
Round of applause for persevering, Susan. Thank you very much. And a thanks to Mark Heinrich as well. So, all righty, my little sheet is the same as that, as far as I can read. And so we want to give our appreciation to the 4 folks that were on the nominating team this year. And that would entail including Don Turner, Vern Bobeda, Sylvia Ray Strickland, and Susan Queelish Nelson. So I want to give them a round. As a board member, I was only a liaison. They did all the work. So if you got calls, that came from all those 4 folks. They did all the heavy lifting, so to speak. So I have a nominee who would like to give a little bit of her information herself. And that is River Hanson, and she's already been exposed, I believe, on the bulletin board here and online. But if she wants to come up and give a little bit more of her history, I would sure appreciate that, to give her the opportunity. River?
Wow, what a thrill to be up here. I've been dabbling with Unity for many, many years. I would come to this sanctuary for ceremony type things like the end of the year ceremony and all of that with Ariana. And I was also here for drum circles and for other workshops in the fellowship room. But over 20 years, I can't exactly remember what those workshops were, but it was so great to be part of this community in that way. And then was there anybody here that remembers the Tibetan monks outside? Look at all of you. And just experiencing all of that. And I just never thought about becoming a member until a couple of years ago when I was dreaming of a new house, my forever home. And I knew what I wanted. I wanted it to feel like I was out in nature. I wanted it to be all one level because I am an aging body. You know, and I had a whole list of what I wanted. And then one day I was having lunch with Marlene, and I was telling her about my dream, my wish, and she said, I think Unity is going to sell the Fillmore house next door to the church. And I said, really? Well, that's interesting. And so I arranged to go look at it with Ariana, and we stood on the chain link fence looking out onto the meadow. And I just knew, I knew in that moment that this is it. This is a dream manifested. This is a dream come true. But I also learned later that there was all kinds of contingencies and all of that for me to be able to purchase that property. Is there anybody here that was on the board at that time? Oh, you guys. The board bent over backwards to make my dream come true. And the board members, you know, became angels in my life, and they made it happen. And so September 15th of a year and a half ago, I moved into the Fillmore house. And for all of you who have spent time in the Fillmore house, you know that house was used for children to learn, and was used for ceremony, and was used for classes and meditation. And that energy is still live and well over there. And so not only did I get everything on my list, I got so much more. And then it was before that I started Zooming in to the services here. And I've known Ariana for quite a few years, but I've never really known her as a minister. And so I found myself Zooming in week after week after week, religiously, no pun intended. And then last spring, about this time, I decided to become a member. And so I took Linda Anthony's Basics Unity class and became a member of this amazing community. And I have felt from before and since, I have felt so much love and have felt so welcomed into this community. This is unique. You are unique. Your heart's wide open, your expansive thinking, your hope, your faith, this is unique. And I'm so thrilled to be a part of it. And then by and by, people started to approach me, Sylvia, about becoming a member of the board. And here I own a healing arts center downtown. I have a private practice counseling. I have grandkids and all this going on. And I, humbly said, no, I don't think I could do that. And then somebody else approached me, Marlene. And then in the parking lot, Peg. And a person's got to pay attention to that. When you have people coming to you, calling you, approaching you, and saying, we envision you on the board, that's something I couldn't pretend away. I had to take that very seriously in my heart and my soul. And so I finally said yes. So what can I bring as a board member? I can bring laughter and playfulness and organization and clarity and vision and all kinds of other things that I can't think of right now. But basically, I can bring me, my essence, to the board. And there's something too that about service, about being in service, stepping outside oneself and serving a greater whole. And for me, it's always brought me inner contentment, joy, and purpose. And so I would be so honored on every level to serve on your board.
I guess it falls on me at this point to ask if there is a motion from anyone out there to offer her name up. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second to accept River Hanson as a nominee to be candidate and also to be accepted? Or there'll be a vote, and then we need to have your hands held up. Those of you who are here, follow your instructions in the Zoom room as well, what you have to do, so we can get a count. And we'll give you the tally at the end of our meeting today. So, okay, everyone who wants to accept River Hanson as our next board member, keep your arm up and please don't put it down. Use your other arm to hold it up if you have to. But we have an older man who's counting all the quantity of people here. You can put them down now, those of you who have sore deltoids. Okay, at this point, while they're doing the tallies from electronic and from on-site, our bylaws state that at our annual meeting that we have to have 2 members to serve on the nominating team for the following year's election. This does not require a vote. This requires someone either nominating someone else or nominating themselves to be able to make phone calls, go through the lists, and find out if people are willing to serve on the board next year. And at this point, if you know of someone that you would like to nominate, submit that name, yell it out, I guess, because I don't have a piece of paper for you, or raise your hand saying you want to be a participant yourself. And we can also do this electronically. So those in the Zoom room, I guess if you want to be involved, please put your name in submission at this point. In the chat box, I'd imagine. Yeah, pardon me? You'll nominate me? Okay. And Mr. Turner? Pat Christensen and Marlene Milner. Are there any others who want to be considered? So do we have an acceptance of the two individuals that were so called? Pat says yes. Oh, and I'm going to include that in a second. Marlene, are you? Well, I guess the best thing would be to ask Don Turner to come up and say what he did. We had him as our ad hoc chairman this year to take care of our responsibilities. So here he comes, and he'll be able to explain exactly what his collateral duties were and the rest of the team. I owe you one?
Yes. So the nominating team gets together. There was about 4 or 5 of us last year that you heard about. We go through the entire list of members of the church, and we talk over things like participation, how much do people participate, and what have they done in the past? Have they served on the board in the past? Do they know a lot of people? Because that's very helpful whenever you're going through a list. Like, for example, Sylvia, every time we brought up a single person, she could give us 10 facts about that person. It's like, wow. So those are the kinds of considerations. And then we pick out people that we'd like to call. And we do call them, and many of you have been called. So, and then if they say no, then we call you again. Until you finally say, no, I'm not going to do it. But that's basically what we do. And then if you agree to it, you fill out the application for the board, and we forward your name to the board as members for next year. So that's pretty much what you do. Clear?
So I imagine at this point that there is a tally going on for someone who's watching on the chat, on the Zoom people, see if they've raised their hands. Okay. All right, so that's as again, this is nothing you have to vote on. It's a question of, we did wind up having 4 or 5 people finally serve on our committee this year. And it was all helpful because then it took the burden off of the remaining people. Instead of having 2 calling 50 each, we had basically 4 calling 25 each, if that was the case, and mathematically. So it would be helpful to have multiple people step up and put your name in a submission, and then next fall, or this fall coming, we'll be able to start getting things together and having considerations for people to make their phone calls and points of access that way through email or whatever. So yes, Marlene? Well, don't forget, this year goes on, and although I know you're busy, as am I, and all of us are, conditions change. And when that's it.
Jeff, could you repeat the question, because we can't hear her?
Well, we wanted to know online if in fact people raise their hands or put their name in the chat box as being willing to be on the nominating committee next year to seek out nominees to be considered to be on the board of trustees. The people that we're looking for right now are not going to be on the board. They're going to be the people that are selecting people that are going to be candidates.
I don't have any names in the chat box.
Okay, so we have one, Pat Christensen. So through the year, Pat, you're going to have to knock on everybody's door and see if you can get more people to help you and reinforce your efforts. Otherwise, you may have 100 people to call. That's just a joke. I'm sure we'll have more people come up and offer their help because they'll see their schedules. He is basically the chairman of the nominating committee, and unless we get more people, then he can co-chair if he wants to pass on the responsibility. So at this point, we have Pat Christensen, and he's a standalone, and so you know where you are. And I need to turn this over to Cindy for a financial report, I think. I'm done with all mine.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Cindy Walters. I'm the treasurer. I've been the treasurer on the board for 3 years. I'm outgoing now as of today. And I want to thank everybody who's served on the board with me. We've had an experience, for sure. We've had a lot of hard work, but it's been a learning experience, and everyone has worked so hard. And I just want to thank Jeff, Susan, Peg, Marlene, Lou, Jamie, and Patsy, who was served also as our board president for a time during this transition. And River, I'm thrilled that we're going to be having you on the board. And just thank everybody. So let's talk about our financial report for 2021 and going into 2022. First of all, we are a thriving community, and we know that we continue to manifest abundance. The purpose of the financial report is to explain the revenue streams that create our income and detail the expenses we pay. And we want to take a look back at 2021 and see how we did financially, and to provide members with the 2022 budget. Please hold your questions until the end. And next slide, please. And there we are. So our revenue streams are Sunday giving, in person here in service. We have our wonderful donation box made by Jeff, where we are able to leave donations, and also electronic giving. Donations made by mail, donations made through the website, auto tithing or auto giving, which you can set up at any time. Just call Kayla or email Kayla. In the back of the seats, there are forms to set up auto giving. And that really is a very, very important part of our abundance, because it's prosperity and money we can count on month to month that we know is coming in to cover our expenses. And we also have special ceremonies. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, we also have education that's offered by ministers and others. I know Connie has taught some classes, and others have taught classes that have brought in funds. We have fundraisers. Sometimes we haven't had as many of those, obviously, during this last 2 years. We share our building with High Plains Unitarian Universalists, and that brings in income monthly. We have bingo, which is a wonderful source of income for us. And we have designated funds for specific purposes. For example, our audio-visual repairs or upgrade that we have done recently, that was part of our designated funds. We also received a grant for that, a matching grant. We raised money and then Unity matched that, so that was part of our designated funds. Next slide, please. Okay, for a look at 2021 income. Sunday services brought in $4,937.81. Our special services and ceremonies, such as Christmas Eve, burning bowl ceremonies, and those type of ceremonies, brought in $200, and our mail-in donations brought in $17,274.26. Sunday service income was primarily from the Ariana Legacy Fund, with Sunday service income received in December when we reopened. Because we were not open most of 2021, we didn't have as much of that income. And special services and ceremonies include special activities hosted by our ministers. Next slide, please. Our website and one-time credit card donations were $19,495.36. And our auto giving, auto tithes, which can be either debit or credit, were the bulk of our giving, $66,112.86. And again, this is what allows us to plan. We have consistent monthly support to meet our expenses and planning for the future. Currently, we have 56 participating donors in this program. Even if you were only able to give $10 a month, that helps us so much to have that month to month and to be able to know that we will have that consistent income source. We also have King Soopers and Amazon Smile. We received quite a bit from those, especially from the King Soopers. But the Amazon Smile, everything helps. Next slide, please. From education and classes that were offered, we received $341.02. From the prayer chaplain program, we received $50. And from our building share with High Plains, we received $14,092.68. And our education includes Unity Basics and Minister's class. Next slide, please. Our pastoral counseling in 2021 raised $1,079.06, and our designated funds were $2,923.37. They include Benevolence Fund donations that are given for a specific purpose from a giver, refugee giving that we give to our refugees, and our West Side Cares. Those are some of our designated funds. When people designate that they want their gift to go to West Side Cares, then that's how we do that. Next slide, please. Total income then for 2021 was $126,429.98. And next slide. We'll go over expenses for 2021. Okay, so let's look at the line of credit first. A $25,000 line of credit was established 7 years ago. This amount was expanded in 2020 to $50,000 when the mortgage was paid in full through the selling of the Fillmore house. We did not have to draw from the line of credit at all in 2021, which is wonderful. And so we ended with a balance of $0. And it's used all year to manage cash flow. If we had an emergency plumbing expense or roofing expense, we could draw on that money. And then we pay it back. Yes, and interest in 2021 on the line of credit was 8.011%, and we paid $594.31 in interest fees for the year. We do have to pay a little bit of interest monthly, even if we don't use the line of credit, just to maintain it. Next slide, please. 2021 expenses in primary areas: operations, utilities, and pretty much most things, salaries, contract labor. All of those things added up to $155,000. $152.32. Those also include guest speaker fees, minister search expenses, internet, security, insurance, taxes, outreach expenses, supplies, and equipment rentals. Designated funds expenses were $4,089.09. Again, those are like West Side Cares. We have a Benevolence Fund that we have used in 2021. Those fall under designated funds. Next slide, please. So our total expenses for 2021 were $155,152.32. Next slide, please. So our net income for the year was $17,415.66. We did receive a second Paycheck Protection Program loan of $21,122 in 2021. And we had received one of those also in 2020. Both of those loans were forgiven. So instead of being loans, they were grants. Yay. So a total of $46,022 was given to us. So we ended the year with no deficit. Yay, thank you. And now Dawn is going to come up and specifically talk a little bit more about bingo in the bingo report. Yes. It, it did get used during the year. So you're saying, was it included in that income?
Well, was it included in the expense number you originally showed us? Or was it an addition to them?
Yes, yes, it was included in those expenses and in that income. Yes. So without those paycheck protection program, we would have not ended up in the positive for the year. Okay, okay. Yes. It was included, the audio-visual upgrade was included in the designated funds. It was set aside for designated. Okay, Dawn?
We started hosting bingo games at Carefree Bingo in October of 2014. And in fact, there are 2 volunteers who are still volunteering from October of 2014. One is Fran Gimble, and the other one is Phyllis George. Fran Gimble is sitting right out there. And the other people have volunteered for quite a long time too. They just happen to be the only 2 that started in 2014. So the volunteers rock, to make a long story short. We stopped hosting the game due to COVID in March of 2020. And then we returned June the 1st of 2021, which is a period of about 14 and a half months. None of the other groups, and there are 16 different bingo sessions held at Carefree Bingo each week. Everybody had to stop for 2 or 3 months due to COVID during the big shutdown. But the other groups started back after 2 or 3 months. We weren't comfortable with the level of safety after 2 or 3 months, and so we did not start back. And we stayed out for 14 months. And what that meant is that our regular customers ended up joining other sessions. And so when we did start back in June of 2021, we had to find our regular customers again. There's emails sent out by the owner of the bingo hall. It goes to many, many people, that bingo players. That's one way of advertising. Through the church, we've advertised. Through word of mouth, we advertised. Through signs in the bingo hall, we advertised. And slowly, we did things like we'd give away and we still do. We give away extra prizes. We give away daubers, we give away coupons to our bingo game, we give away restaurant gift certificates, all to get people to come to our game. So since then, now it was a slow start. The first month, we lost $1,000. And when we first started, we had to get the board to fund us. It's like, we need to start up. Each game starts with a $3,000 check, for example, and we had to have money to buy games and so forth. So the board gave us a lot of money. And the first month, we said, well, we need some more money because we just lost $1,000. But the board had confidence in us, and as you'll see, it's paying off. So here's the financials for 2021. And I have the quarterly reports that backs up each of these numbers. I'm going to start with the bottom line, which is not very impressive due to all the factors I just told you. Our net profit for 2021 is $7,635. Now, how we got to that number is the receipts. That is from the sales of everything we sell, our bingo games and progressive games and pull tab games, which don't mean anything to you, but that's what we sell and that's what they play. The sales equal $150,044. Fees are fees like for the annual license and for quarterly reports, you have to pay the Secretary of State to read your quarterly report, which makes a lot of sense. That was $751. The prizes that we paid out, $114,705. Expenses paid like to buy the games that they play, security, renting the hall, renting computers. If you haven't played bingo lately, people rent computers, and when we call numbers, all you have to do is touch the computer in one place and the computer updates. You could play 54 games at one time with the computer, so it's different than it used to be. Those expenses are $24,328. Then there's a few expenses that were owed, not paid yet because they were in the pipeline of $2,625. So all that comes to $7,635 profit last year. So fast forwarding to today, we're back in the groove. We're estimating to be able to make $1,500 profit for the church every month this year, and perhaps more. I actually believe we'll do better than that. Now, this is not going to make the church wealthy. That's like a total of $18,000 in a year for a budget of whatever the budget was, a couple $100,000. So don't think that because of bingo, everything is just wonderful. We just take care of things that have been put on the back burner for a long time. So far this year, where we are this year, we have transferred $5,500 back to the church just since the beginning of this year, in 2.5 months. So thank you, bingo team. If you'd like to join the bingo team, contact me or Kayla, and we will get you started.
Thank you, Don. Bingo is a wonderful, wonderful asset to us in many ways. So moving forward into 2022, the board approved a full year budget for this year, for 2022. The budget is available on the website, and you also received a link by email and in the newsletter, in the e-blast, that you can look at the budget. Current financials through February 28th of 2022. In 2022, our income so far has been $25,583.74, and our expenses have been $20,446.83. And our current balance in our reserve fund, this is $77,033.93. Again, this reserve fund was primarily established from the selling of the Fillmore House. And we have guarded this carefully because we know there are expenses coming up, quite high expenses for maintenance, things like roofing, parking lot repaving that are going to need to be done. So the board has been very careful with this reserve fund. Of course, also, you know, as we're coming out of this pandemic and we're revitalizing our community here, there may be some expenses. So thank you all for your continued support of our community. And with that, are there any questions? Any questions on Zoom that anybody wants to chat in? If not, I will turn the program over to Susan for the board president report.
Thank you, Cindy. And Dawn. All right. Can you click forward 2 slides, please, Mark? One more. All right. Well, first, let's talk about our staff. We are so grateful to have Reverend Elizabeth here as our transitional minister. Isn't she great? All right, she's only been with us since February 1st. Our music director, Connie Castro, has been with us 21 years. Yay, Connie. Our office administrator, Kayla, has been with us for 1 year. Thank you, Kayla. And Mark Heinrich is our AV technician. He's been with us for 4 months. Serving in that role, you know, he's a Unity member, so it's just wonderful to have a member serving in that role, and thank you so much. Mark has worked so hard getting the new AV system moving along. He and Connie have been working so hard on it, so we are just grateful for the team that we have. All right, next slide, please. All right, so a few statistics. Currently, we have 160 members. You'll be interested to know that that's the same number of members we had last year. We had a couple leave, but you know, we had a couple join us. So at any rate, our membership has remained stable. Our average online attendance for the first half of 2021 was between 60 and 80 and weekly. And in the second half, after Ariana left, we had 40 to 70. Next slide, please. Our in-person attendance in December, after we reopened, has ranged from 11 to 24. I'll have to say that this morning's attendance of 32 is the most we've had in here, so except for maybe Christmas Eve. But it's just so great to see so many here today. There are 1,038 people subscribed to our e-blast list, and 75 people viewed YouTube videos of our Sunday services last year. Next slide. Our prayer chaplains made 1,777 calls to members between December 2020 through November 2021. That's considered a prayer chaplain year. So thank you. Thank you to all the prayer chaplains who give of their time to keep us all connected. Linda Anthony is my prayer chaplain, and while I was not always available to take her calls, she always left such wonderful messages for me, and I am so grateful, and I know that you are too. 40 calls were received on the prayer chaplain phone line. Let me just mention too, last year, the prayer chaplains increased to making 2 calls per month to the people assigned to them. You know, because of the pandemic, they just wanted to check and make sure that everyone was okay. So thank you again to the prayer chaplains. Next slide, please. Our 2021 community outreach projects. These will be familiar to you. We supported Silent Unity through financial support, Unity Worldwide Ministries, again with financial support, Unity South Central Region, we provided financial support. With Westside Cares, not only did we provide financial support, but we provided food, or you provided food, clothing, school backpack program, and other items. Next slide. Our 2021 community outreach projects were the Benevolence Fund. Many of you made gifts to this fund, which provided financial support to members of our community who were in need. We supported the Uganda refugee camp and school by providing financially to them. We also supported the Christmas tree project through our volunteer support. Next slide. The entire staff, board, and community continued in online format and protected each other from exposure to COVID for most of the year. We did reopen on December 19th. Reverend Ariana departed Unity on June 30th, and her sabbatical continued through September. Once after Ariana left, Reverend Julie, who was our associate minister, and Reverend Roger, who was a former associate minister, both served as guest speakers from July through September. And then after that time, we had guest speakers who were suggested to us. Before Ariana left, she provided us a list with speakers, and then we had recommendations from members of our community. So I hope you enjoyed it when we had the guest speakers. Tony Boehm served as our transitional consultant for 9 months, and many of you, I'm sure, heard her messages when she was able to speak on Sundays, and I will say she provided invaluable guidance and support to the board during this time until Reverend Elizabeth joined us. Next slide. Next slide. One more? There we go. So the new AV system was installed and Mark was hired. Michael Elmore provided a lot of assistance to us last year as we were finalizing details, and a colleague of his, Dan, worked with Mark to get Mark trained, and I think probably Mark still calls him every now and then if he has a question, but Michael Elmore did play an important role in the whole AV system, and I know you appreciate his work. And we do send him our blessings. I need to check on him. Connie, have you spoken with him recently?
I spoke with him last Sunday. He was not doing well. He basically said to me he's ready to leave this.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Well,
He is actually in hospice care in a facility now off of Templeton Gap in Union. The one
Okay.
right near where you can emerge onto Office Bluff.
Right.
He's in that.
Susan, could you repeat that for the people on Zoom?
Yeah, we'll repeat it. Okay. So Connie has been in touch with Michael, and his health is not good at this time. He's in a hospice facility here in town. So please just keep him in your prayers. Just send him lots of love and gratitude because he has been such an important part of our community. So thank you for that update, Connie. Okay, the building reopened for Sunday services on December 19th, and as you know, we continue to offer hybrid services, both in person and via Zoom. Next slide. So our 2020 objectives are to hire a new senior minister, to celebrate our 100th anniversary and our legacy, to discover and vision our future, to enlist and vitalize volunteer teams and to reconnect. And yesterday, we had a wonderful workshop with Reverend Elizabeth, Tapping into Abundance, and it was so much fun. There were 18 people here, and it was just, I think people just enjoyed so much being together again. A goal of our meet and greet yesterday was to vitalize our volunteer teams, and that's a big goal for us this year. So, of course, yesterday we got to enjoy lots of delicious refreshments in the fellowship hall and just enjoy our time together. And while I'm on this topic, let me just say that the suggestion was made. Peg, thank you for bringing chocolates today. Peg and Donna provided the treats and the coffee and the break between the Sunday service and the annual meeting. And so our fellowship team is not up and running just yet, but next week we plan to offer fellowship after the Sunday service. So if you come, just bring snacks that you can share with others, okay? All right, next slide. Our ministerial search report. I want to recognize the search committee members, and we're just so grateful for their work. Derek Reed was the chair of the committee. Don Turner, Vern Vobeda, Debbie Flora, and Gloria Harton. And I know Gloria and Don and Vern are here in person. And Derek and Debbie, if you're on Zoom, we just want to thank you all for your work. It's in screening applicants. So there were 4 candidates who applied for the senior minister position. Reverend Liz Luoma, whom many of you probably met when she actually came and she visited with us. And we were very interested in hiring Reverend Liz. We did make an offer to her, and ultimately she accepted a position at another church. Roger Butts, our former associate minister, had applied for the position and ultimately withdrew because he too got took another position. The 3rd candidate withdrew her application after the interview process, and a 4th candidate who was interviewed recently is just taking a break from giving any kind of a commitment, but she will get back to us. So we'll see how that pans out. The good news, again, is that we have Reverend Elizabeth to keep us going. Yeah. Secretly, I wish she would come be our minister. I'm not supposed to say that because we know she can't do it, but we're dreaming. All right, so at any rate, we'll just see where Spirit guides us and who Spirit brings to us. And I just have faith that the right person will come. So now I turn the program over to Reverend Elizabeth.
Thank you, Susan. And let's give Susan a round of applause. This woman is amazing, 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 amazing. Thank you. So is your board. Thank you. You're all familiar with the law of attraction, right? Well, a few years ago, about 3 years ago, my best friend moved to Colorado, to Boulder. And I started coming here on a yearly basis and fell in love with Colorado. And I remember my prayer setting the intention, well, my ideal life would be half of the year in Colorado, half in Fort Lauderdale. Hey, the next thing I know, I'm praying this, I get a phone call. There's an opportunity to serve in a congregation in Colorado Springs. Thank you, God. I knew every part of my being, I felt that from head to toe that yes, it just felt like a yes. And I started, as Susan said, 6 weeks ago, month and a half ago. And I couldn't wait to be here in person because it's, I'm very grateful for Zoom, but it's not the same. And we speak on a weekly basis or more, emails and so forth. Not the same. I had to have the experience and be with you and fall in love with you. And I have. This has been a quick visit. I can't wait to come back, you know? So, but on the first slide, yeah, let's look at the first slide. I want to share a little bit about my role as a transitional minister. And I am certified by Unity Worldwide Ministries. That means that not only am I an ordained Unity minister, and I have served as a senior minister, I have served the movement in many, many ways, but I've also had special education about how to serve a community during this time of change, because this is liminal time you're in. And, one thing we can know for sure is that life is change, right? But change is not always comfortable. We like familiarity. We get used to the minister. We fall in love with the minister. And then there's that loss and a lot of things come up. And so this is a liminal time. So my number one purpose, and I think we have this a slide. Change the slide. My purpose is to create a sacred container. Have the sacred container for discovery. For a discovery, who are you without your minister? And what are you becoming? Because life is continually unfolding us and inviting us to grow and to walk this sacred journey with you. As your companion, you're in my prayers every day. Hold the space, the big vision, and see how it all comes together, because it's all consciousness and putting spirit first. That's my number one thing. And to remind you over and over again that you're not broken, yet you're whole and complete. Because of course fear will come up, and what are we going to do and lack, and how do we, and we take a breath over and over again and trust spirit and open ourselves in prayer, in visioning, in possibilities. But you know what? It requires the entire community to step up. Because you want to attract a minister with the highest vibration, the highest consciousness, and seeing, what are we being called to be, so that it's not so minister-centric, one person, telling you exactly, but that everyone is empowered. And that as soon as somebody walks in through the door, everyone, for the first time, that you see a potential leader in everyone. Because there is a minister in everyone, because everyone has the power. So the force is with you. Okay. So let me give you a couple of things that are important during this transition. And let me have the slide on about the history. And my God, you have 100 years to celebrate. That means that you are standing on the shoulders of a lot of greatness, a lot of consciousness in this room, right? So we're going to be looking at this, and also, next slide. Well, so as we look at the history, it's also important, and I will be doing a process which I'm going to invite all of you that are here to attend, and hopefully a lot of the people that are in Zoom watching us right now to come in person, because this process, it's really important to be present. So I'm hoping the next time I'm come, we have to pick the dates, but probably in May, that we can do this process. It's a whole day, Saturday, that you will have to commit, but it's also fun, and it's also fellowship, and it's also community building, where we're going to look at the heritage. That means that, from the person that has been here the longest to the person that is the most recent, and what you remember in each time. And it's a beautiful process to honor the past, heal any grievances, celebrate the wonderful things, and see how the energy has flowed during these 100 years. And that's important to clear anyway, release anything that's stuck energy. It's a beautiful process. And boy, what a better year to do it than on your 100-year celebration. And I see this 100-year celebration continuing, not just, this year, but continuing. So, yeah, because the idea is to identify the life energies of this community and how to bring it into a place of thriving. So that's a process we're going to do, honoring your past, creating your future. Next is really looking at the mission so that we move into from minister-centric to mission-driven, is seeing the mission and then maybe even, is this mission working? Do we need to update it? So forth. That's also important to look at. And connections. Ministry is all about relationships. Yesterday, we had that opportunity in person to come in, to connect. We had it today, connections, and here and also in Zoom. How do we connect in a deeper level? Here and also in the community. I know Donna is very, very passionate about this. Please see her because she is really passionate about getting everyone involved.
I always have 3 people that I write down that have been here for 50 years, 43 years, and 45. Write down their experiences. So we're on the same wavelength.
Yeah. Yeah, and also within here and other parts of the community and how to envision and if you have any marketing experience, we really, really would love to really get your skills because this is the best hidden secret. And the world needs unity now more than ever. So there's so many opportunities to bring in new people. So how do we market the community? So if anyone has experience in marketing, please see us afterwards, right? Yeah. And we want to strengthen the connections not only here, but again, with the community, the surrounding community, Unity Worldwide Ministries, which I work with very closely with Unity Village. In June is conference. I was in the summit in January, February, and there's a lot of changes going on. Because I think this pandemic, the gift that it gave us the opportunity also for everybody to see how do we reinvent ourselves. So just as every church is reinventing ourselves, so is the movement. This is a time of great, great changes, right? But we know one thing, that it always works for good. So let me share a little bit of next steps. I will be working with the board and doing some board training because that's important. Your board really is also, along with the minister, holds the consciousness, represents the consciousness of the community. So there will be some board training. I had a workshop yesterday. I will continue teaching classes. I'm going to do a class online. Everybody yesterday said Thursday would be a good time. So I'm looking at possibilities of expanding kind of what we were talking about yesterday, but because about how do we live, how do we embody our teaching. So this is about mastering life's energies. How about going to that point of mastery? So I will be doing a class on that. The other class that's really important to do during this time of transition is the Eye of the Storm. So that's another one that I will be doing that I invite you all to participate, which is how do you stay centered in the midst of challenges, in the midst of everything. So yes, and future. Leadership. That's the next slide. We want to create a culture where everyone shares their talents and skills as an engaged member, a leader in the service to the mission of the church. This is about ownership. So We all have something to contribute, special talents, special skills, and nothing, absolutely nothing is insignificant. We all have something that we can give our talents to. So that's really, and there will be more leadership training so that, as a community, there's this opportunity to awaken to something greater and rise up. So the future, about how do we bring these life-affirming energies into co-creating unity in the Rockies' future. And that includes the searching for the senior minister, because you want somebody that you really resonate with, right? And meanwhile, my commitment right now, my contract is for 6 months, part-time, twice a month, I'm speaking with you, but you know what? You have the best of both worlds. Why? You get me twice a month, but you get phenomenal speakers the other 2 weeks. I mean, next week you have Robert Brummett, who was my teacher at Unity Village. He's written a bunch of books. He's amazing. He's the director of spiritual direction right now at Unity. So for next month, you're having Linda Martella Whitsett, who wrote the book How to Pray Without Speaking to God, Divine Authority, who is the vice president of Silent Unity. And we have in this room Dr. David Goldberg, and he came. I'm going to have lunch with him afterwards. Dr. David Goldberg is an ordained CSL minister who is now serving as the senior minister at Unity on the Avenue in Denver. But guess what? He has agreed to speak on May 29th, I believe it is. So thank you for being with us today. I want to honor you. So look at all the wonderful opportunities you have. So I just want to say you're not alone in this process. We're all in this together, and we're walking the journey together. And we're all here to be givers of life. And service is one of the ways, sacred service, that we get to experience the divine, because we get out of the poor me mentality into serving something greater. In India, it's one of the yoga sacred paths, seva, because you give, but you receive more than what you give. So right now, listen to your heart. If you're not serving right now, and I'm going to look at the Zoom people too, because I'm sure there's a lot of opportunities for you too. Okay, so there's a call. Again, nothing is too little, but that we all have a part to play in this, in the new. Today's at the beginning of spring, in the newness that we're bringing in, the freshness of spring. So after this meeting, please see Susan or me. I don't know where the forms are, but she created a beautiful form for you to really sign up to serve. And we looked at, some of the places that right now are fundamental for our next steps. And again, marketing is not on there, but if you have marketing experiences, please say so. Huh? Step up. All right. Thank you. That's my thing. Any questions? And I look forward to connecting more and more and getting to know all of you. I mean, I've had this opportunity. I've been really nonstop since I got here, but I've had wonderful, wonderful time with board members, and the community yesterday. So I am feeling very, very grateful. Thank you again. And Connie, oh my gosh, she made it possible for me to stay in a beautiful home. Thank you all.
Thank you, Reverend Elizabeth. And just so you know, those volunteer forms are out on one of the tables in the foyer. So please grab one and really consider how you might serve Unity. We invite you to go into sacred service with us. All right, I want to announce the ballot results. You know that the minutes passed, and I am so excited to welcome River Hanson as our newest board member. So we will be a small but mighty team. All right, well, I want to take this opportunity to thank our departing board members. First of all, and I don't know if Patsy Prather is on Zoom. I hope she is, but I want to tell you a little bit about Patsy. She served on the board from 2019 until she resigned in spring of 2021. And at the time of her resignation, she was serving as board president. And she was instrumental in starting our transition to Ariana's departure. Her business organization skills were a real asset to the board. And I have to say, I worked with Patsy for only a short time, but I just so enjoyed being with her. I was really impressed with her love and her enthusiasm for our community. So Patsy, if you're there on Zoom, we thank you. Jamie Finn succeeded Patsy as our board president. And I will say that Jamie really served brilliantly in difficult circumstances. Ariana had departed, and Unity in the Rockies was still dealing with COVID. And Jamie kept Unity going strong, navigating us through a pandemic while directing the activities of Unity Spiritual Center. So Jamie, if you're on Zoom as well, we're just sending all our love to you. Yay. Peg Nugent. Peg is here today, and she recently resigned from the board. During her tenure, she served as secretary. She kept track of board business for the minutes. She was very instrumental in facilitating the first 100th anniversary celebration planning meeting. And in addition to her board role, she was chief elf for the Christmas Tree Project, and she has been a tireless supporter of the Sacred Women's Circle. And she likes to bring treats. So we, chocolate, well, I don't know, popsicles too. So let's give Peg a big hand. Yes, she was instrumental in getting the purifiers that we have here to keep our sanctuary air as clean and pure as possible, yes. All right, Jeff Cahill, he's here today too. So Jeff stayed on the board an extra year at Ariana's request, so he is completing a 3-year term instead of the normal 2. He has, in many instances, single-handedly taken care of the grounds and the buildings. Do you want to know who clears the snow on our sidewalks? It's Jeff. Actually, he emailed us the other day, and he had, what was it, 2:30 in the morning? He woke up and he was concerned about the pipes bursting in the building, so he got up and he came down here, checked the pipes, and then he went out and shoveled snow.
We've lost you, Susan.
All right, how's that? All right, thank
Yay.
you, Connie. So let's give Jeff just a big round of applause. I keep telling him he's my hero because he does so much. All right, Cindy Walters. You heard from Cindy earlier today. Didn't she give a great report? So like Jeff, Cindy is completing a 3-year term as well. My hat is off to her. She's taken care of the nitty-gritty details of being the treasurer week in and week out, making sure that the monies are counted and deposited and that the checks are paid. And she monitors our financial accounts and keeps the board informed. So thank you so much, Cindy. We are grateful. All right, Marlene Milner. Marlene is here today. Marlene accepted a special request from Reverend Ariana to serve on the board, and she was filling a vacancy left by a board member resignation. She's been instrumental in helping us to look at this time as an exciting opportunity for growth and transformation. I mean, she's been such a cheerleader on the board, and I love her energy and enthusiasm. In addition, she filled the important role of lining up guest speakers for us, and I think she had a lot of fun doing that. She fortunately has agreed to continue in that role to help if we need guest speakers. If Reverend Elizabeth hasn't lined them up, then Marlene has agreed to do that. So, yay, Marlene. So this is just a brief description of the services these folks have provided. And just know that being on the board is truly sacred service. So please join with me and let's say the unity blessing for all of our departing board members. We love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ in you. All right. Huh? Yes. So, Reverend Elizabeth, why don't you come up for the closing prayer?
Thank you. And to all of you, and we see you doing great things, all of you, all of you. So in this closing prayer, I'm going to really tap into all the consciousness that's in this room and on Zoom and invite you to go to your heart and tap into that power of visioning that we all have with faith and love and our willingness to get out of the way and listen to Spirit, the call of Spirit, what you're being called to be, individually and collectively. Spirit, we are open, we are receptive as we in unity. We're hearing the call, we're seeing the possibilities. We're getting out of our way and open to new beginnings. And we see a future that is beautiful, thriving, and filled with possibilities to serve this town and the world. And we are grateful because we know the power of a community that is willing to rise up in unity. And for this and so much more, we say thank you, sweet Spirit. And let's say together, we rock, and up to the highest peak. How's that? Yes. We need to find something that really resonates, something awesome for this 100-year celebration, right? So we rise up to the peak. Yes. So thank you all for being for listening to the call of Spirit. And it is my great joy and pleasure to be serving in the capacity that I'm serving now with you. Thank you. Namaste.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you for being here.